E3 ended up being one of those very busy times, and with England, especially London, going through a heat wave at the moment, recording is a pain in the ass. But it also means that my illnesses rise. I always get my illnesses during the summer, not the winter. I'm much more accustomed to the cold than I am to the warm. So yeah, about for the last days of E3, my throat went. So hence the reason why I was doing the live tweeting, but not of any of the videos. But as part of these press rush specials, I will finish off covering all of the E3 things. But the slight advantage is that as of doing the recordings now means that all of the press releases are now out. So I can talk about the companies in sort of the idea of the conferences, but I can also talk about the companies more generally. Talk about the stuff that wasn't in the conferences as well. And so we are going to continue on with Ubisoft. The conference itself this year was alright. It didn't have the pizzazz or the fun, but it also didn't have the sort of just the gut-wrenching sort of sadness that comes with it a lot of the time. Aisha was a very sad miss, having no Aisha, even though she every now and then pulled up the line of, make that a meme, and it's like, no, you misunderstand memes. It just ended up being really normal. It had moments of going, that's pretty awesome. It's like having the beginning bit where it had Miyamoto come on stage with the prop guns and things for Kingdom Battle. That was fun. And having the dancers, the Just Dance. There's always a Just Dance thingy when you always bring off a singer of the charts. I'm assuming. Fuck if I know. But on to the stuff that they actually talked about, which, grand scheme-wise, wasn't that much. A lot of the stuff they talked about was stuff that we knew that was going to happen because of previous things, or stuff that was expected. But they opened up with one that I didn't know about, or I didn't expect. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. That seems really fun. That seems really great. That's a hell of a... It's astounding, that one. That's really good, and considering the rest of the stuff that they have, there's pretty much only one other game that they have, which is kind of Switch-like, kind of Nintendo-like, and that's Starlink, and that came along later. It looks really good. By now, people who would want to know about it, and it seems very fun. I certainly hope when it starts coming out, when is the release date for it? The 29th of August. I hope when that comes out on the 29th, that gets reviewed quite well, because that seemed very, very fun. It seemed very, very fun. And then came Assassin's Creed Origins. It was Xbox who talked about it before, going past through previous notes. Was it Xbox? Yes. Xbox had their world premiere bollocks, showing off the trailer. So there wasn't really that much to show off, really. I'm still highly anticipating Assassin's Creed Origins. They didn't really add anything here, which was unsurprising, really. I think this is the conference that they did the very strange thing of recording a TV screen rather than going to a feed of the screen for one of their away things, which was weird. That stuff hasn't been around since like 2006. There's a reason why people started using PVRs. So that was a very strange thing. I had a look around for the other press releases because both Ubisoft made a big deal of this through the entirety of E3, and I had a look around the press releases, and they really didn't add anything to what they said in both the Xbox conference and their Ubisoft conference. It's turning out to be very much like all previous iterations, which is in a way kind of saddening, because even I said before in the Xbox conference, or about the Xbox conference, that this is probably the boost that the brand needs, the adding of a new spark, to bring a spark back to the franchise, and I think some of it does, but if they're going to end up if the core part of it is going to be doing the drone by fucking Eagle, doing the RPG elements, all that sort of stuff. Basically, doing the Ubisoft sandbox RPG element bollocks. That it's going to be extremely disappointing, because the bit that I liked about the trailer was the fact that you just go mental with magic and monsters. That is a thing that I found interesting, not the fact that you can, oh look, it's you have to have a drone, so we just made it an eagle. So I have hope, but slightly as E3 went on, I became not less interested, but kind of went everything with a sort of arm's length again, going, I am now suspicious of you, Ubisoft. You have a tendency to fuck this up. As came along later, and by that I mean one of the games made me very, very angry. If you followed me on Twitter during the live twitterings about it, you would have noticed that at a moment I became very, very angry. And the release date for Origins is the 27th of October this year, so won't have long to wait for that one. Couple of months away from that. Then came The Crew 2. Again, they kind of made a big deal out of it in the other events and things like that, mainly of going, look, aeroplanes. It's basically the previous one plus planes plus a few good things. It seems all right. I wouldn't say that I was really glistening at the idea of The Crew the first time, so I'm not necessarily glistening at it now. The big problem they had was that the player base for it came out and the player base for it just dropped through the floor, like many of the online focus games. It couldn't hold on to its base. So yeah, it's The Crew 2 coming out Q1 2018. So not a scheduled release date, but Q1. So it's going to be probably part of the February release schedule, I would say. If it's aiming for the Q1, probably around February. February is the big post-Christmas release boost. Then came along the Fractured Butthole. That seems fun. It's following the same sort of keys as the previous ones, so not much to say about it. It comes out on the 17th of October. Then came an interesting one, and doing a bit of reading on this one actually made a lot of this stuff kind of make sense, and that is Transference. I have to make sure I'm reading my handwriting correctly. Transference. It is a game that you can play in VR. It was as advertised in the conference as VR, but you can play it without VR as well. It's a first-person thing, but you can play it with or without VR. It is made by Spectavision, or at least sort of in part company with Spectavision and Ubisoft. Spectavision is a company that was sort of set up, and sort of one of the leading board people, manager, director people for it is Elijah Wood. That's the Elijah Wood connection. The company that's making it is a company that is sort of run by Elijah Wood. That is the reason for that one. The Spectavision is a film and media company. They've made a couple of horror VR things before, a couple of horror movies as well. They're one of the film and media companies that has come along in recent times that make kind of short movies, horror movies, sort of techno, sci-fi, horror things. Think of things like Soma, but in movie form. There's some stuff. It's been held at. To make sure I get the film festival right, I think it's Cannes. Or Sundance. It's one or the other. It's probably going to be Sundance, thinking about it, actually. So they've had stuff shown at Sundance Film Festival and other things like that. So that basically explains the whole Elijah Wood thing, having him there. The reason why he's there is because the company that's making it is his company, or at least the company producing the entire thing is his company. It's a horror thing. It seems very interesting. They did the usual thing of, as it can be played in VR and without VR, they're saying the best thing to do is to play it with VR, because full horror experiences of having your mind fucked with is basically the point of the game. It's the fluidity of memories and the sort of the altering of memories through your player character, not your actual memory. Well, you might fucking with your memories. It still has quite a bit of time coming out. It's coming out in spring 2018, so it's going to be probably March, April. I would say that would be around the spring schedule would be around March. Around April. It's about sort of the spring release schedule for it. So it's still got quite some time left in production. It's very fascinating. I think the one fascinating thing is with the way that they were talking about it is to see the differences of how it is done with and without VR. 'Cause it seems like there's going to be added mechanics when you play it with VR, rather than when you play it without, because you're going to end up having the whole sort of altering of memories things. So it's rather fascinated by this product, rather fascinated by this game. Be very interesting to see what they do with it. So you have me intrigued. Don't have a VR headset, so I won't be able to review it. It's coming out for all VR devices, but we don't have a VR device, so can't review it. Don't have the £300 to pay for a Vive. Then this was the point where I got very angry, if you're following on the Twitters, during the live tweetings, because this is when Skull and Bones came along. When the trailer came on, I literally ended up having goosebumps for it. It looks so good. When I first saw it, it was like, oh, it looks fucking amazing. But then it was said, multiplayer only. It's a fucking online game. This is the game I wanted as a single player game. Ever since, because even they started saying, oh, this is the game we wanted to do since Black Flag. And it's like, yeah, can I just have another pirate game, like a story-driven pirate game thing? For fuck's sake. They fucking multiplayer only. It's a multiplayer game. That pissed me off to no end. I wanted a fucking single-player pirate game. They went, we're doing a pirate game. Ooh, it's multiplayer only. Bastards. That just annoyed the hell out of me. It's literally is, even from the stuff that I had in the trailer, and everything that I had in the trailer, it's literally the game I wanted. But not fucking single player. It's literally the exact game I wanted. But if it had that game, but with a story and single player, done. But it's not. Because it's a bloody online game. Because Ubisoft seems to be squirming over the idea of having multiplayer games. They have The Crew. The multiplayer thing is still getting pushed for Far Cry 5. Oh, the Space Junkies, which is another one. Which is one that wasn't around on there. Even the games that they have currently out. With things like For Honor and things like that. And apparently the fucking player base for For Honor has fallen through the floor as well. The one thing that Ubisoft doesn't really seem to be able to do is to make a multiplayer game that is able to hold on to its bloody player base. And this literally is the game I wanted. It's literally the game I wanted. I am very, very pissed off at you, fucking Ubisoft. I am very pissed off at you because this is the game I wanted. But I wanted it in bloody single player, you bastards. It really is getting to a point when very few companies are even bothering to try and do single-player games now, because the money is in the multiplayer to microtransaction people's balls off. And yes, I will talk about that at some point, 2K. You haven't gone off my radar entirely, just I've been very, very fucking busy. So moving on from that, they had Just Dance. It's a Just Dance game. South Park, the phone game. It's a phone card happy thing. Then came Starlink Battle for Atlas. This one seemed very interesting. One thing that also came very interesting in the press releases that came about around it, because the one big thing that people picked up on, and it's the one thing that the trailer really pushed and advertised, is the model AR model thing that you can have. Basically, if you haven't seen the trailer, it's someone who sort of slots together a spaceship with parts, and guns go here, more guns here, change the wings, and it changes in real time, kind of like the Amiibo thing, but you can sort of switch things in and out of it. And by the way it's done, it seems like it is a sort of a USB hub thing that connects to the USB on your controller, either through, well, it's the power port thing on the underneath of the controller. It's always in the same spot for pretty much all of the controllers now. And then you plug it in there, and that acts as a hub, so you can change out the cockpits, change out all of the bits that are attached to it. But the interesting thing that came out around the press releases is that it is going to be digital as well. Or at least by the way that it was worded, it seems like it's going to be digital as well. Because they said you can create your stock with the real life toys as well as through digital means. So it seems like you don't actually have to buy the toys. You can do the whole thing digitally. Not sure how it's going to work. I'm guessing it might end up just being a microtransactional thing, where you can either buy them from microtransactions or buy them from a shop, the same way you do with the amiibos. So, yeah, not really. It seems very, very interesting, and it's actually a very good move. If you can do it digitally, sort of within game, or do it with the AR toy plug-in, plug-out figurines, then that would be extremely good for them. Part of the reason for that is because there are many people out there who will collect the shit out of these things. People collect the crap out of amiibos and the like, and Skylanders and all sort of things. They buy the hell out of those ones. But the toy market is fragile in this sort of regard. Just look at amiibos. The prices for them can fluctuate extremely heavily, depending on how supply is going with the demand. Although that's usually Nintendo sort of plying their trade a little bit. And so some people are going to be more inclined to have it digitally. So that at least keeps the options open, where you can have the sort of digital option, normal sort of plug option. It'll be interesting to see how it interacts. See if you can actually mix and match both. It might just be a digital thing where you have digital specials for like a single player campaign or something along those lines. It's game's got quite some time on it, because even when they said it is autumn 2018, so it still has quite some time on it. So there's going to be quite some time of refining it, and probably a lot more details about how the toy thing works, how the toy thing is going to be sold. And then came along Steep Road to the Olympics DLC stuff. I prefer SSX. Oh wait, yeah, it's Steep DLC. If you're still playing Steep, then yay. Again, Ubisoft has a terrible knack of holding onto their player base a lot of the time. So, yeah, if you're still playing it. Then they had a trailer for Far Cry 5. Well, actually, no, they had two trailers for Far Cry 5. Because the first trailer was the... I don't remember what song it was. I immediately went for Amazing Grace. Oh yeah, sweet the sound. So it was Amazing Grace. They had the Father song where it was him at the pulpit. I'm religious maniac, birdie birdie boo. And then they had a trailer that showed off what you can do in it. It seemed a lot more fun than Far Cry 4, a lot more dynamic than Far Cry 4. Still pushing co-op, still pushing multiplayer. I just want a fucking single-player shoot-abouty sandbox. Give me a shoot-abouty sandbox. That's all I want. I don't care about co-op. I don't care about co-op. I don't care about multiplayer. Just give me a sandbox I can shoot the shit out of things. And give me a decent story as well, rather than just, oh look, we're going to try and do Far Cry 3 again. And before we get to this last one, because it's the big story, we're going to go on to the one that wasn't mentioned in the conference, Space Junkies, which is a VR FPS arena experience coming out in the spring of 2018. It's an arcade shooter thing for VR. Not much else to it than that. There's a lot of arcade VR shooters and stuff that's coming out at the moment for it. Yeah, spring 2018. Still got some time on its hands for development and for more stuff to eke its way out. Expect to hear more stuff about it probably around Christmas, just before its big push. And then, shifting back to the last biggest thing that Ubisoft had there, Beyond Good and Evil 2. I honestly did not expect that to come along this time. I honestly did not expect... I thought Beyond Good... Like any sort of Beyond Good and Evil 2, because they've been talking about this for fucking years. Pictures and stuff came out about it for 5 years ago or something like that. God knows how many years back. But they had pictures for it, like the previous generation of consoles. Kind of astounding. It really has got to a point where no franchise is dead now. It really has got to the point where no franchise is dead. Because Duke Nukem managed to have his return after 13 years. Beyond Good and Evil 2 after 10 years. Probably might be more. It's been a long while since that came out. I have the game somewhere. From the interviews and stuff that was going round from the developer and the creator of Beyond Good and Evil 2. The funny thing he was saying is that it's basically year zero. It's basically day zero at this moment, which basically means that it has been in active development for probably under a couple of months. And probably the only thing they have as for actual materials, solid materials, is probably that trailer. That's probably all they have. They probably have a base engine and a script, and that's probably it. Otherwise, they don't have anything else. So my suspicion is that this game might not come out until Christmas 2018 or 2019. It is, but by the way he was talking about it, this is a long, long way away. But with them having a big announcement now, and with Ubisoft very much planting the flag much more sturdily than before, it should still go. And with the response that it got, especially, it was really quite amazing. It was really quite nice to see the lead developer sort of get on stage and get quite teary over it, because it's a game that has been long coming. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it for games that they had there, and for the press releases that I've got my hands on for it. There really isn't that much. They don't really have anything else there. They really are pushing. I think the biggest push they had for the entire event was probably Assassin's Creed Origins. That by far was probably the biggest push. Probably the reason for that is because they're probably not at the point where they can push Far Cry 5 too hard. With Far Cry 5's release date, I don't have it to hand. I thought I wrote that down. Turns out I did not. But yeah, if I didn't write it down, it's probably not 2017. If it is, oops. Yes, the biggest one they're pushing is for the Assassin's Creed, which is coming out in August. It's either August or October. Any mini money moose? October. 27th of October. Because otherwise the rest of the stuff they had was either stuff for 2018 or stuff like Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is basically just going, yes, it's in development. It'll be eventually. Ended up being a load of cracks around. Ended up hearing a load of cracks around. Oh, it's just Half-Life 3 left. It's if seeing games like Beyond Good and Evil 2 has raised your expectations to see things like Half-Life, to see another Half-Life, you are almost provably wrong, because basically everyone who worked on that game at Valve has left the company. It's basically no one who worked on any of the Half-Life games is still there. That includes all of the writers. So, yeah, it's basically dead. So that is all of the stuff for Ubisoft. I still have quite a lot of other things to do, quite a lot of other companies to talk about. Most of the other ones are not that fun. Most of the conferences were not that fun, so I expect it to be very short, but I am going to be doing a conference E3 overall video, which you can probably catch at the end of this video, probably, at some point, in the playlist. Just follow the E3 playlist, and you'll see all of our stuff from there.